Hey everyone, this is Rob Van Dyson up at my usual spot, Hobble Creek, and today is the 18th of October 2020, and this has been a hard couple of weeks, this last week especially for me. I managed to injure my elbow. Apparently there's a sac in the elbow that contains fluid, and somehow I managed to rupture it. The good news is it doesn't impede my day job. The bad news is it basically means I can't forge right now. I've tried a few times, and every time I do, my elbow just really starts hurting. So trying to take the feedback that my body is giving me, I have been not forging, because I want this thing to recover as quickly as possible. And it has been exceedingly frustrating for me. I'm just trying to get some momentum in my blacksmithing business, and then I go and do something like this. And most of the time it's fine until I do something stupid and I knock it, and it doesn't take a hard knock to send a jolt of pain up my arm. And other times it'll just start hurting. And swinging a hammer definitely aggravates it. So in the last week or so, I've only swung a hammer a couple of times, just enough to get the feedback, and I've stopped because I want to get back to forging as quickly as possible and with as little permanent damage as possible. Some other things have been going on in my life that have been difficult, more on a personal level. I'm not going to get too much into them, but life happens. And I've heard it said before that you're on the right track when life really starts throwing monkey wrenches at you. Life has been throwing monkey wrenches at me, and one hit me in the elbow. But going back to my previous video, I'm just going to have to adjust. I'm adjusting my switches right now. Been getting more rest, which has been good. But overall, it's just been a hard week. Well, a hard couple of weeks. This last one in particular has been hard, just because it's, just really affected my plans and my own mental and emotional health. Which, let's be honest, my emotional health really isn't that good to begin with, just because there's a lot of stuff I haven't dealt with that I'm still trying to deal with. But overall, I'm continuing on. I'm not going to let this stop me. It's going to slow me down. But I'm definitely not going to let this stop me. So one of the things I did want to talk about, I was watching this one interview show called Vox Machina, and it is centered on one of my favorite D&D streams, Critical Role. And in this particular campaign, and in the episodes they were talking about, they were dealing with this really unpleasant character who played a pivotal role in the backstory of one of the main characters, played by Liam O'Brien. And in this interview, they were interviewing Marisha Ray and Taliesin Jaffe. And they were talking about this encounter they had with this particular character. And when I say he's a tool, that is a massive understatement. And it was kind of interesting listening to them talk about, because this particular NPC has a view on life that all progress is caused by conflict and pain. And in this interview, the two players were really pushing back on that. And they kind of went to the opposite of extreme, of no good comes from this kind of pain, that it is all a negative. My personal view is as somewhere in between. Like most things, it's not black and white. As most of you know who watch my videos, I served in the United States Marine Corps. And I shipped off to boot camp. I arrived at MCRD San Diego, Marine Corps Recruit Depot San Diego, on the 8th of December, 2003. Now, dates don't usually stick in my head. I actually have to work to remember the important dates. You know, things like my anniversary, my wife and my daughter's birthday, things like that. I actually have to consciously try and make sure I have lodged in my head. That date, through no particular effort, is lodged in my head. In a lot of ways, it's a very traumatic experience. It was designed to be a traumatic experience. The stated purpose of Marine Corps boot camp is to break you down as an individual and to then be able to rebuild you into a United States Marine. And it is a very confrontational, it is a very pain-ridden, physically, emotionally, mentally process. And though I don't have personal experience with it, I believe most other services, both in the United States and in other countries, are similar in that regard. So the Marines have a reputation anyway of being the most trying in that particular case. That they are constantly breaking you down and building you up. And they'll break down another section of you and then build you up, and then break down another section and build on top of what they've already built, so on and so forth. Until after about 3 months, you graduate as a United States Marine. And it's one of the reasons why a lot of Marines, myself included, really prize that little piece of cheap metal they stick in your hand in the shape of an eagle, globe, and an anchor. An EGA is what we call it. And that EGA represents, to most of us, that transformation from a civilian into a Marine. Now, there's a lot of critics of that particular process, saying it's too extreme, it's too harsh. And I'm not going to say they're unfounded. In a lot of ways, it does leave emotional scars I'm dealing with today. A mindset that I'm still dealing with today when it comes to certain things. But then, if you also look at the environments that U.S. Marines and the other services throughout the world are asked to go into, of high stress, high danger, basically high everything that's negative. What it does is it creates individuals who can, at least on some level, deal with it better than if they didn't have that training, if they didn't have that restructuring of themselves. Now, I was an aircraft mechanic. I was not combat arms. I was never carrying a rifle through Fallujah. I served in Al-Assad. We got mortared once, didn't land anywhere near me, and it was a single round, from my understanding. But it still was a very high-stress situation. I was over in a combat zone And even when I was stationed back in Yuma, Arizona, just doing daily operations stateside, it's a high-stress environment. I was an aircraft mechanic and a plane captain, and those pilots relied on me and the other maintainers to ensure that that jet would not fall out of the sky, potentially killing them and anyone else that happens to land on. Very high stress. And so the vast majority of us took that job very, very seriously. We did our best to ensure that those planes, would work as they were intended to work. I also served on a flight deck, not the large carriers, but LHDs, the Essex and the Boxer. And while they don't have quite as many moving parts, not quite as many things that can kill you as the large carriers do, it's still a extremely dangerous environment to operate in. One slip of attention can get you killed or get someone else killed. And there is no hyperbole when I say that. You're not paying attention to exactly where you are and what everything and everyone else is doing around you. The results can be fatal. And like instantly fatal. And dealing in those high stress, high danger, high everything environments, you have to have a certain mental toughness that Marine Corps boot camp and my subsequent training instilled in me. You can't be worried about how you're feeling. You have to just be laser focused on the task you're doing and the environment you're in. But on the other hand, the people who say that the training that we go through is abusive, well, in a lot of ways, it is. And many a times, either by intention or accident, those trainings, that the discipline installed in military members across the world can go abusive. And where everyone draws that line of what's discipline, what's training, and what's abuse, it's going to be a little bit different. And for a lot of people, all of my training is abusive. And they're not exactly wrong. Now, I think the benefit I got from it, the fact that I am still here and that I didn't carelessly walk into the rotor blade of a helicopter, means that abuse was a net positive. That attention to detail required while servicing a jet. When you're doing a check, when you are walking around the plane before the pilot even gets there to ensure that everything is exactly as it should be, is crucial. And the results of carelessness in that could be fatal. Not only to yourself, but in my case, to my pilot, and, depending upon where that plane comes down, maybe to a lot of innocent people. So, and honestly, I do believe it made me a stronger person. It also made me weaker in some other regards, And some of those struggles I'm still dealing with now. The point I think I'm trying to get to is that life, situation, other things are going to throw hard situations at you, potentially abusive situations at you. And what it really comes down to is, what are you going to do with it? You know, the glib phrase, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. I don't think even Nietzsche fully believed that everything that didn't kill you made you stronger. But what I do believe is that the human resiliency to be able to take whatever actually didn't kill you and use it to your good. My elbow's not going to kill me. My elbow is an inconvenience and an occasional pain. What can I take from it? You know, my Marine Corps training. It didn't kill me. I'm still here. I believe my Marine Corps training kept me alive. But the downsides to the Marine Corps method of training, what can I do with that? How can I improve on that? How can I use that to make me stronger? That's my question to you. Whether it's just abuse, whether it's life, something like, an injury, whether it's the death of a near friend or relative or someone you care about, what are you going to do with it? In a lot of ways, my life has been relatively easy, but having examined a lot of my past, it wasn't just the Marine Corps that was abusive to me, and I'm having to deal with it. Am I going to let it make me weaker? Am I going to let it make me stronger? Am I going to let some of the emotional abuse that was heaped on to me even before the Marine Corps completely affect me? There's no doubt that it has. There is no doubt that a lot of who I am is based upon those abuses. And just to be clear, I actually do not believe that the people who, the emotional abuse, who portrayed that emotional abuse on me, or thinking I am going to go abuse him, I am going to commit this lasting abuse. They didn't think of it that way. The results were the same though. And what am I going to do with it? And how am I going to overcome it? There are certain things emotionally that are very difficult for me to express, to feel, just because of my method of coping with it. And honestly, that coping method kept me alive, but it left scars. Not just me, but also in the other relationships I've had. And I'm determined to try to make sure that because it didn't kill me, that it will make me stronger. But it is a choice. And it's a choice that you need to make in your own life. Obviously, I don't know all the things that you're dealing with. In some cases, I don't even know who you are. I'm a very small channel right now. But I've received comments on this channel from people who I have no idea who are. So obviously, I don't know your life story. I don't know how certain things have affected you. All I do know is you have a choice. What are you going to do? I'm going to try and be better, and it's going to be a long process for me to get better at some of the things that I'm bad at, because I just don't know how. Certain things that are just apparently common in other people are just completely switched off in me. And I'm trying to figure out how to switch them back on. And to switch them on in such a way that I don't destroy my life, literally. But, once again, what are you going to do? What choices are you going to make? How are you going to handle it? I don't have answers for you. Other than the fact that I strongly encourage you to do it. To look at it. To figure out, okay, this bad thing happened. What can I do to use it to make me stronger? Alright, with that, I once again encourage you to determine what your dreams are, to work towards them. Always. Even if it's just a quarter step at a time, always be working towards your dreams. And to never give up. Alright, been Dyson out.